From a young age, I've always believed 22 was the year that we all became adults. I think it was because a lot of adults around me at the time seemed to have life just work out that way. So, naturally, I created my own plan for success. It was step 1, turn 22, obviously. Step 2, graduate college, get a job, find a man, marry that man, get an apartment, maybe a house, and then live a happy, independent adult life. Easy. Well, now that I am 22, it's safe to say that times were much simpler when I made these plans at age 12. I'm a month away from graduating from the University of Illinois. Go Illini. And I know less of what I want to do now than when I started school. You see, when I was 18, I picked my degree because I thought it was the most feasible way to end world hunger. Like, that's sweet and all, but who did I think I was? I've always had these very idealistic expectations for my life, which I wouldn't say is a bad thing by any means. But as life continues to play out and my life doesn't look the way that I thought it would, I fall into this trap that I've just set up for myself. So I'm constantly in this state of uncomfortableness, of frustration, as I'm trying to navigate the things that I feel like I should already have figured out. It can really be summed up into one question, and that is, what is my purpose? A couple of summers ago, I went on a mission trip to Kenya, and I was so excited. Leading up to the trip, I would picture myself in these little scenarios on my hands and knees, digging in the red dirt, teaching gardening workshops, digging wells, and building churches. I was ready to put in work and labor for the Lord. But after the first few days, I quickly realized this trip was not what I expected. The reality was, we spent most of our time in a hot, cramped minivan. We drove to and from various communities on bumpy, unpaved roads. And when we arrived, we were always greeted with so much warmth and encouragement. However, our conversations were so short because of the language barrier. There was meeting after meeting about program funding and money, and these were all things out of my jurisdiction I really just could not contribute. And so rather than getting my hands dirty, I felt like I was just there to smile and wave, sit and look pretty. And the others on the mission, they were trying to encourage me, saying, "Marie, your simple presence is enough." But I was not convinced. I didn't feel like I was making a difference at all. At the end of each day, I would come back, lay in bed, and I was tired and I was hungry, and I really just wanted to make greater use of my talents. I'd go to bed thinking, what is my purpose for being here? The mission center we stayed at was in a preacher's backyard. It was a real lively place. He had chickens and cows, donkeys, and a dog, and a huge family. There were 4 grandchildren. The oldest, she was Joy. And though she was only 8, she was so confident and intelligent. Next in line was Mercy, and she was 7 years old. She had a more gentle demeanor, but she had the most beautiful dark brown eyes. Steve-O was a rambunctious 5-year-old, and as we got to know each other a little bit, he proved to be a troublemaker. And baby Johnny, he was so sweet, a little 2-year-old welcoming to any embrace that came his way. And so while others sat in the mission center attending meetings, I would kind of slip outside through the back door and just explore the property. And on more than one occasion, I could often feel little eyes peeking at me from behind their mother's skirts. On one of our trips, we went out to go look at a well. So everyone piled into the minivan and we drove over. And as we reached the site, I saw that not too far away, there was a tree that had recently burned down. So as everyone was looking at the water and preoccupied, I slipped away, I grabbed my water bottle and ran over to the burn pile. I just started shoving it full of charcoals. Later, when we got back home that evening, I knew the kids were outside. So I grabbed the bottle, went out, and shook all the little black pieces onto the pavement. I picked one up, and I drew a cat. And then I drew a cow, and the kids watched me with curiosity. They got closer as I wrote their names, and then they picked up their own pieces of the makeshift chalk, and started to copy all of my little sketches. Soon we were all giggling and our hands were covered in soot. The next night, I went out with another girl from the mission, and we drew squares and numbers on the ground and taught the kids how to play hopscotch. And soon, once we ran out of charcoal, we just found other games to busy ourselves. Big water jugs and a flat soccer ball proved perfect for soccer. There was a goat pen over here and a chicken coop over there, and other various structures scattered around, and that was ideal for hide and seek and tag. But my favorite were our dance parties. We would spin around to the 5 songs I had downloaded on my phone, the dry dirt swirling around us. When we went out to the cities, my attention was often captured by little fruits and candies that were for sale in the street markets, and so I'd grab some mangoes to bring back to surprise the kids. As the weeks continued, the end of the day was what I looked forward to the most, and I knew I wasn't alone. I could tell that the kids were also growing from this energy of our newly founded friendship. After a long day's work, when the van would return, before we even had a chance to park the car, kids were darting straight at the vehicle. They would climb in, dragging us out, playing with our hair and our hands. And even though we didn't speak the same language, we didn't need words to grow our relationship. We just had to share our time and love with one another. On the last night, I brought out the string that I had originally brought with me just to stay preoccupied on the 20-hour plane ride. This night, however, we sat together on a retainment wall, tying knots until we had bracelets long enough to wear. I then tied the final knot, fastening the bracelets to their little wrists, and then they grabbed my hand, holding it. We were all decorated in matching string, and they led me into their house. I had never been in there before, but we sat around a little stove that was heated by coals, eating roasted corn and sharing it with their families. Their mothers pulled me aside, and they said, "Marie, no one has ever paid this much attention to the kids before." And they thanked me for the time that I spent with Joy, Mercy, Steve, and Johnny. It dawned on me then, this was my purpose for being there. So I look at this story as I face the challenge of unmet expectations yet again. Maybe my life doesn't look how I thought it would at age 22, but instead of being discouraged, I am hopeful. If this trip had been what I had wanted it to be in the beginning, I would have been way too distracted to express to these kids how much they meant to me and others in the mission. I wasn't there to make big splashes, do fancy works, or gain the glory for myself. I was there to love others, and these kids gave me the opportunity to do that. So now, when things don't go as I have planned, I ask myself, is my focus right to begin with? I grant myself grace, knowing that whatever is in store for me is so much greater than anything I could plan for myself. And I practice patience, believing that my purpose, the purpose which comes in small doses, will continue to be revealed to me through each and every experience that I have. The more I grow, the more I realize that life is rarely what we anticipate it to be. And as I get more comfortable giving up control, I focus on seeking out moments that bring me what Kenya did, and I pray that I'm ready to embrace them.